The Red Wedding was supposed to end the War of the Five Kings. The young wolf, the king in the north, Robb Stark, dead at 16 years old, betrayed by those he trusted, his mother murdered beside him, his direwolf slaughtered, his army massacred, his bannermen butchered like animals. 3,500 Northmen, dead in a single night. Not in battle, not with honor, but at a wedding. But what if Catelyn's warning worked? What if Grey Wind's instinct saved his master? What if the king in the north never went to the twins? I'm the Westeros verdict, and today we're presenting the case for Robb Stark's victory. The evidence will show how he defeats the Lannisters, how he takes King's Landing, how he faces the threats no one saw coming, and whether the boy who would be king could actually rule. Court is in session. Let's examine the evidence. Exhibit A. The Red Wedding never happens. But not because of luck, not because of chance, because Robb Stark received 3 warnings, and in this timeline, he listens. First warning, Grey Wind. His direwolf refuses to cross the bridge, growls at the Frey banners, won't enter the castle, paces back and forth, agitated, sensing danger his master cannot see. In the timeline we know, Robb ignored this warning. He penned Grey Wind outside, separated himself from the creature bonded to his soul. But what if he remembered his father's words? The direwolf is your guardian. When he warns, you listen. Second warning, Catelyn. She begs him not to go, reminds him of Walder Frey's reputation. We can find another way across the river. This man is not to be trusted. You broke your oath to him, Robb. Men like Walder Frey do not forget. Third warning, Roose Bolton. He volunteers to lead the vanguard into the twins. Too eager, too insistent, too specific about formations and who enters when. The Leech Lord has already made his deal with Tywin Lannister. Gold for betrayal, titles for treason, the North for a knife in the back. Robb looks at his direwolf, looks at his mother, looks at the man who volunteered too quickly, and for the first time, he sees the pattern. 3 warnings, 3 chances to turn back, 3 people and 1 wolf trying to save his life. He remembers his father's words. The man who passes the sentence should swing the sword, but the man who rules should listen to counsel. Pride is not the same as strength, Robb. A wise king knows when to retreat. And he makes the choice that saves his life. We turn back. Now. Arrest Lord Bolton. The Northern Army wheels about. 20,000 men in perfect formation. No panic, no confusion, because they trust their king. The Freys watch from the walls as their trap dissolves. Crossbowmen with no targets, soldiers with no one to slaughter. Walder Frey screaming orders that cannot be followed. Roose Bolton tries to slip away, but Great John Umber stops him. Where do you think you're going, my lord? The Leech Lord is arrested. The conspiracy unravels. And the Red Wedding never happens. Robb Stark lives. Catelyn Stark lives. Grey Wind lives. The king in the north survives. And 20,000 men who were supposed to die drink to their king's wisdom. But surviving the betrayal is only the beginning. The question becomes, can he win the war? Exhibit B. Robb Stark doesn't just survive, he wins. And here's how the evidence shows it happens. First, Bolton talks. Under interrogation, the Leech Lord reveals Tywin Lannister's entire conspiracy. The Frey alliance, the timeline, the gold promised, the lands to be granted, and most importantly, who else is a traitor? House Karstark was planning to defect. 3 minor houses were waiting to turn their cloaks. Even some within Robb's own guard had been bought. Robb purges his ranks. One night, simultaneous arrests. Every Lannister sympathizer, every wavering bannerman, every man whose loyalty could be bought, gone. What remains is an army of 20,000 men, smaller than before, but absolutely loyal. Not the largest army, but the most devoted. Every man willing to die for the boy they call king. Second, the Riverlands unite completely. Without the Frey betrayal, Edmure's marriage alliance succeeds with a different house, House Mallister of Seaguard. A wedding that actually happens, with bread and salt honored, with vows kept, with alliances forged in trust, not blood. The Blackfish commands the river defenses. Edmure holds River Run. The Mallisters control the western coast, and Robb has a clear path south. Third, Robb faces Tywin Lannister in open battle. The lion versus the wolf, experience versus youth, ruthlessness versus honor. 60 years of warfare versus 16 years of life. Tywin is confident. He has more men, better supplies, the high ground. He's fought more battles than Robb has lived years. But Robb has something Tywin doesn't. He's never lost a battle. Not once. The Whispering Wood, the camps, Oxcross. Every engagement a victory. Robb uses the same tactics that made him undefeated. Speed, surprise, and the terrain. He feints towards the center, drawing Tywin's forces forward, then splits his cavalry. Left flank, right flank, encirclement. Grey Wind leads the vanguard. The direwolf tears through Lannister lines like a nightmare made flesh. Soldiers break ranks at the sight of him. Horses panic. Men flee. Because this isn't just war. This is old Nan's stories come to life. The Starks of Winterfell and their wolves. Ancient, primal, unstoppable. And for the first time in his career, Tywin Lannister retreats. The retreat becomes a rout. The Lannister host breaks. 5,000 men captured, 3,000 dead, the rest fleeing south. And the road to King's Landing lies open. The young wolf marches south, 20,000 Northmen and Riverlanders, bannermen who've never lost a battle under his command, an army that believes their king is blessed by the old gods themselves. And King's Landing, defended only by Cersei's schemes and Tyrion's wit, falls in 3 days. But how does a 16-year-old boy take the most fortified city in Westeros without burning it to the ground? Before we see how the capital falls, the defense must be heard. The defense argues that winning battles is not the same as winning the throne, because taking King's Landing is one thing. Holding the Seven Kingdoms, that's something else entirely. Even if Robb takes King's Landing, he faces 3 impossible challenges, any one of which could destroy him. Challenge 1, Stannis Baratheon, the rightful king by law, the man who never bends. He will not accept a northern usurper. Stannis doesn't compromise, doesn't negotiate, doesn't forgive claims to his throne. And he has an army, a fleet, and Melisandre's dark magic. Challenge 2, Daenerys Targaryen. She's coming, with dragons, with armies forged in fire, and a claim that precedes the Baratheons, the Starks, and every northern king. How does a boy with swords and shields defeat a girl with dragons? Challenge 3, the threat from the north, the Night King, the Long Night, the war that makes all other wars meaningless. What good is the Iron Throne when the dead are coming? Would Robb believe his bastard brother's warnings? Would the boy king take the threat seriously? Or would his youth and inexperience doom the realm? The Iron Throne has broken greater men than Robb Stark. Mad kings, drunk kings, cruel kings, all destroyed by the Game of Thrones. Why would a 16-year-old boy be any different? Objection. The defense underestimates the young wolf, because the same qualities that won him the war are the same qualities that let him rule. Let me show you how. Exhibit C. Robb Stark becomes not just king in the north, but king of the Seven Kingdoms. And here's the evidence of how he rules. First move, he makes Tywin Lannister his hand of the king. His own bannermen object. A Lannister as hand? The enemy? But Robb understands what others don't. Tyrion knows King's Landing. He knows the Game of Thrones. He knows which lords can be trusted and which will turn. And most importantly, he has no love for Cersei. The wolf and the lion, working together, youth and wisdom, honor and cunning, the perfect balance. Second move, he negotiates with Stannis Baratheon. Not an easy conversation. Stannis doesn't compromise. But Robb doesn't come as a supplicant. He comes as an equal. Robb offers northern independence and recognition of Stannis as king of the south. Stannis offers military alliance against Daenerys and support against the Night King. 2 kingdoms instead of 7. The north and the south. Separate but allied. The stag and the wolf. United. Waiting for the dragon. Third move, he listens to Jon. Because unlike Robert, unlike Cersei, unlike Tywin, unlike every king before him, Robb Stark trusts his family. He remembers the boy who trained beside him, who fought beside him, who never lied to him. When Jon warns of the Night King, Robb doesn't hesitate. He sends men. He sends dragonglass. He sends resources. He prepares. Because the king in the north remembers. Winter is coming. Is he a perfect king? No. He's young. He makes mistakes. He's learning. Sometimes he's too trusting. Sometimes too stubborn. But he's surrounded by people who love him, people who guide him, people who challenge him, people who believe in the dream of a just Westeros. And for the first time in a generation, the Seven Kingdoms know peace. Not because of fear, not because of dragons, not because of gold or threats or betrayals, but because a boy who never wanted the throne, who wanted to go home to Winterfell, who wanted to marry for love, not duty, chose responsibility over desire. The king who should have been, was. So here's the verdict. The evidence shows Robb Stark survives the Red Wedding by trusting his instincts and his family. He defeats Tywin Lannister through superior tactics and absolutely loyal men. He rules Westeros with wisdom beyond his years because he surrounds himself with the right advisors. He makes Tyrion his hand, bold. He negotiates with Stannis, pragmatic. He prepares for the Night King, wise. The Red Wedding took this future from us. One act of betrayal, one broken promise, one moment of trust misplaced. And the king who should have been never was. 3,500 men who could have gone home, a kingdom that could have known justice, a long night that could have been prepared for, all gone. Because Walder Frey wanted revenge for a broken betrothal. But that's not my verdict to give. It's yours. Here's what I need you to do. In the comments right now, deliver your verdict. King in the North, if you think Robb would have been the king Westeros needed. Too young, if you think his inexperience would have doomed the realm. But here's the rule. You have to defend your verdict with evidence from the show or the books. Quote a scene, cite a character, reference a battle. Because the top 3 argued verdicts will be read aloud and challenged in next week's trial. And speaking of next week, we just saw the king who should have been. Next week, the king who refused. What if Jon Snow accepted the Iron Throne? The ending Game of Thrones should have had. The king the realm deserved. Subscribe right now so you don't miss it. Because I'm building a case that's going to change how you see the entire final season. The young wolf deserved better. The North remembers. Court adjourned.